Today we play golf.
Let me show you how we do it in the pros.
Welcome to Behind the Golf Brand Podcast.
I never miss with the 7-iron.
A conversation with some of the most interesting innovators and entrepreneurs behind the biggest names in golf.
My friends with the golf clubs. I lived on the golf course. I lived on the driving range.
From pro talk.
You should learn something from each and every single round you play.
To fun from on and off the green.
Why would you play golf if you don't play it for money?
Just let me put the ball in the hole.
This is Behind the Golf Brand Podcast with Paul Liberatore.
What's up, guys? Paul from Golfers Authority. Welcome to the Behind the Golf Brand Podcast. This week, I have my good buddy Nick from USGolfTV. I've been working with Nick. Nick is probably one of the first people I've met when I started this journey like 4 years ago, for reals. So I've been working with these guys since the beginning. They're great guys. They have a really cool like journey, and kind of what they're doing is different than what I do, but they're doing it so well, and you guys need to know more about them. You might have already followed them on Instagram and YouTube, but I'm really excited to have him on the show and talk shop. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, it's funny. It was just I want to say about 4 years ago, just a random email conversation back and forth talking about articles, and 4 years later, here we are talking podcasts. So it's
crazy.
It is, but it's fun. I like the idea of the whole premise of this, finding a little more about off the path brands and their backstories, because everybody's unique. Everybody's got an interesting story, and
I think I remember I wrote an article, and then I saw you guys wrote the same article. Right, mm-hmm. I was like, okay, cool. It was like the GX7 or some
probably something like that.
One of those clubs, right? I think I'm almost positive it's GX7,
right?
And so I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wrote about it too. So then I reached out to you guys, and I saw your website, and I was like, oh, this is legit. Like, they're doing a really good job. First of all, USGolfTV has like so much instruction content, it's ridiculous. Like, which is really good stuff because with Todd. I outreached to them, and then I talked to Nick, and we became friends, and we like linked with each other, and then we like started doing stuff together, and then like, oh yeah, we do stuff for other brands, and that's how it all started. And that was literally 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then what happened is I lost my emails because my email address, and this is true, I lost my emails on my Gmail account. Just tips of advice here is don't accidentally delete your stuff like I did. You will never get it back. And so then I just reach out to Nick. I was like, hey, how you doing? I've talked to you in like forever. So
yeah, when you told me that happened to you, I just think any small business who lives and breathes Google Sheets and Google Docs and stuff probably would have, the massive heart attack you'd have finding out that you no longer have access to any of those files.
It was so shady.
And I guess it can happen, like you said, like there was really no backup. Like your Google, how is this not backed up?
They're full of shit. They're lying.
Scared.
Like I thought I was deleting an individual account, like individual user account, like because they weren't on my team no more. That's what I thought I was doing, but no, I was actually deleting the entire account. So I lost email, Google Drive. Like I lost the first year of like work, which is fine because it was like my first year of stuff. Posterity wise.
Really, the way I'd see it is you got a chance to start anew.
Are you a golf pro? Like how? Like what's your story?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh yeah. So I love telling people this all the time. I could tell you how to fix your swing. I couldn't show you how to fix your swing. Since becoming a part of a golf company, I golf probably less than I ever had before.
You got married and had kids.
Yeah, marriage and kids will do that to you. You prioritize your time a lot more efficiently then. So So I think last year I actually got out. I think I got out 3 times last year to play, and I think one of those times I actually even played 18. I didn't just play a quick 9. So yeah, I think I probably shaved at least 3 or 4 strokes off my handicap just by playing 3 times, not going to lie. So no, to answer your question, I am not a golf pro by any means. I have a plethora of knowledge at my disposal. Unfortunately, I don't have the credentials to back that knowledge up. So no, I'm not a pro by trade. I'm behind the camera for a reason.
Yeah. So like you're in North Dakota, right?
South Dakota.
I always forget.
Sunny South Dakota, the more temperate of the Dakotas. So it's 20 below, 5 times a year instead of 10.
Oh, okay. So you grew up in South Dakota, and you probably just play golf like everybody else, like with their dads. And
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, I played a little bit growing up. Like, you know, I'd play with my dad. I got his old set, you know, back when woods were even woods still. Then I can date myself like that. I think the first big head driver, I mean, I don't even remember what brand it was, but I remember thinking, man, I can hit this thing a quarter mile. Anyway, I didn't play golf in high school or anything like that. I always liked golf, but it was just kind of a hobby more than anything. And then I went off to school and learned how to shoot and edit. I was actually more looking into, because there's a lot of like news stations in the city. So I was thinking probably doing something in news or broadcast. I did some producing while I was at college for the local college newscast, and I enjoyed it. So that was kind of where I was headed. And I met Todd working out, and he just happened to ask me what I was doing that weekend. And at the time, I was doing some college football, just sideline shooting with a camera, and I just told him, you know, I'm running camera for the college team this weekend. He's like, oh, I didn't know you did that. And he's like, well, I just happen to have a golf company, and we just happen to be in the need for a camera guy. So we you know, exchanged information, talked about, you know, hey, let's meet up and we'll talk a little bit more. And 10 years later, here I am, still doing some golf tips with the same people. So it's not what I envisioned, but it's been a fun ride.
But initially, so when you started though, like, did you guys have the website or no?
When we first started, when I first started, the company was just a few years old. We had our website, which at the time I think we had just launched USGolfTV. I think it was sdgolftv.com. Originally, they started a 30-minute golf program for a regional cable company. That's kind of how the company started, and that was a few years before I was here. And that was pretty much what they had. They had the 30-minute show that they would get some tips for. They go down to the PGA merchandise show in Orlando every year, interview small companies, and just kind of get backstories and learn more about their products. That was kind of how they populated the show, and with tips, some stand-up stuff like that. That was tutorial stuff like that. You know, just better golf stuff. I got here, I think, in the 3rd season of that. And that was pretty much the company at the time. It was, and that's where the name US Golf TV comes from. Is it was a TV show with a website. So that's pretty much
initially.
Right? That was initially. Yep.
Because you're regional, like wasn't it like a regional TV show?
Yep. We were just a regional
on cable.
5, I believe, 5-state area. By the
Midwest, right?
Yep.
Midwest.
So the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, and I think parts of Wisconsin is what the reach was at the time. And I think they've expanded to, I think, either 6 or 7 states now, but at the time it was only the 5. And then we did, by our 5th season, we started branching out and getting a little bit bigger notoriety. We started doing stuff with Fox Sports North, which was kind of more the Ohio through, you know, the Great Lakes area. And then we did some stuff. We started doing stuff with Cox, which was more the Gulf states, Florida through Louisiana. And I think they expanded into Oklahoma and actually had some touch points in Arizona and California, I think, after a couple of years, and then Altitude, which was more the Rocky Mountain area. So at the peak of our show, we were doing, I think our reach was about 25 states through.
So like how many episodes a month or how many episodes a week was being?
The entire show was me. I shot and edited and produced the whole show. So like we were.
Todd was a star, right? Todd was a star.
I was that.
And
you were
behind the scenes.
Yeah, the only time you see me is you'll see my name in the production credits at the end, and then there's some bloopers, I think, of my swings. That's about all you'd see of me.
That's enough for you.
Yeah, so it was mostly just Todd, and we'd have an anchor, and you know we did still do like the PGA show stuff and whatnot, and stuff like that. We do product reviews and stuff like that. So we only did, I think, 10 or 12 episodes a year throughout the heart of the season. We'd start like late April, early May, and then we'd finish late July, early August, depending on how the seasonality, when the weather would clear up enough for us to actually get some content shot.
Were you guys traveling a lot? Or were you guys shooting?
No.
South
So
Dakota?
the only real traveling we did was we'd go down to the PGA show in January. That was that, and we'd get the heart of our content from that. And that's where we do a lot of our partnerships with smaller companies. That was kind of the cool thing about what we were doing is we kind of offered a platform for these small companies that didn't have a big budget to like run a commercial or, at this time there wasn't a lot of
YouTube
ad spend or anything. Yeah, YouTube
was little. Like nobody.
YouTube at the time was still, cat videos and chocolate rain and stuff like that. Like people weren't developing businesses around YouTube. So even at that time, we were barely doing anything on YouTube. So yeah, so we'd provide an opportunity for those smaller companies to, buy a little airtime for us to, give them a little notoriety, and essentially it would just help us pay to get ourselves in those bigger markets. So, that was pretty much the long and short of the show. So,
like, you offered services that smaller brands at the time could not do themselves or figure out, or and then say, well, essentially you're doing a 30-minute show, and part of that show you'll include that product potentially, and then they'd pay whatever fee it would cost it. But then, like, hey, you're part of a syndicated show across the United States. It will be seen. Todd will use it out, whatever, do a review, whatever it might be, and they're like, okay, cool, because that's what we can afford. Right. And then we can give you the exposure because we can't afford going to Golf Channel. Right. Or whatever.
Right. And the nice thing was with a lot of those companies, they had, they'd spend money on a nice website. Well, they didn't have any video to put on their website. Right. So we would shoot and edit and produce this nice video of an interview, and then they could use it how they wanted as well. So like, it wasn't like we had exclusivity to that content. We would allow them to put it out on their own channels. So, they a lot of them, they would use that as a video to populate their website so that they had something, because video was really taking off at the time, and not a lot of people.
Nobody had it.
Nobody had it. It was expensive to produce it.
This is pre-influencer. This is This is those the 5 years before influencers, and all you had was traditional methods of. Right.
You either got a local regional sports program that you'd maybe advertise to, or if you had the means, you'd advertise through like a Golf Digest.
But who does? That's the thing, right? Like,
and one of those.
Nobody does.
The fun and kind of sad thing when you go to the PGA shows, like you see rows and rows and rows of entrepreneurial spirit, like just all these people who had a vision and an idea and the guts to give this a shot. Well, those boots, I think those boots were
minimum $10,000
just to
minimum
get $10,000.
And that's the thing, right? Because like that's one thing my dad had a training aid I told you about. We still have it, But like that's what I learned from him when at a younger age, where like the chips are really stacked against you, right? Because there's a false notion that if you go to the PGA show that you've made it, right? Like that that's it. People think that, and it's a 1% chance it's going to happen, and so. I saw that with my dad's company in like 2000, in 2001 he went, and he's like, yeah, it was not what I thought, right? And he didn't get a booth. He shared a booth with somebody, or I think it was with golftrainingaids.com. And, it's funny because like, it's sad. It really is sad because they spend so much money, and these things are really cool, and where the product is really, innovative, and it's just the next step is to get over the hill, right? To actually get it out there, and like the stack, like I said, like it's impossible. You got more money, right? Which you might not have all any money because you just spent all your money buying the first 100 of those products, or buying a booth at the PGA show. It's and I think like that's what I love about what we do is like I love small and mid-sized brands because they're the ones that are doing stuff, in my opinion, and they're the ones that I don't know. I would love watching them grow, right? Be a part of that, without taking advantage of them.
Yeah, well, and that's what I meant by the fun, but also the sad part is, you have this great product, but once you get in your 10 by 10 and you're in rows of other 10 by 10s of other people with interest, it's so hard to get any sort of traction in a place like that, and a lot of people that go down to the PGA show, they're there for the experience and they're not capitalizing on that potential that they have in front of them. And the sad thing was the next year, 90% of those companies weren't there next year.
Can't afford it.
If you saw somebody there 2 or 3 years in a row, they probably were actually doing pretty well. But also at the same time, a lot of them probably realized, well, I can probably make more bang for my buck doing something else on my own.
I could take 10 or 15 grand, run ads on Google or Facebook and make money from that instead of being seen at a convention. And I saw people when I went 2 years ago, some of my friends were pissed because they thought they were getting one thing and then they got something else and they're in the wrong area, which means they'll never be seen, right? And my buddy was like, I spent $8,000, and it was literally 10 by 10. He said he spent $8,000 for it, and it was this. It was the saddest thing. He was pissed too. I'll never do this again,
Right.
And the one thing I learned too is I don't know. It's good to have a booth if you can afford it and you can man it. But if you're the head of a company or whoever your mover and shaker is, those person needs to be walking around talking to people in their own booths because they're not just going to find you. It's a square mile of booths, right? So that's kind of cool that you guys you guys were one of the first to really do that. I would think that I've heard of.
When we were doing a lot of it at the beginning, we weren't even it was just content filling, right? So we weren't even charging. It was just filling content for the show.
Content, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it costs us money to get down there as well, and we kind of found, you have to.
No, I understand.
So, yeah,
totally. It's not free. It's not free for you. Someone has to pay for it, either you or them, and it's not a free trip.
Yeah,
I
I don't want to downplay the potential you can have at the PGA show. It was. I think a lot of people just didn't understand how much work they thought that the work was getting there. The work started once you were there. That's the ones that were successful. They're the ones that really knew how to hustle while they were down there and
hustle
and make it work. Because if you're just waiting for people to see you,
you just stand in your booth like this, come see my stuff. It's there's a million other training aids here, dude. Why is yours any better than that guy's? And then you start seeing funny, people. It's like a carnival. That's the best I can describe it. Not all of it, but some booths are literally they're trying to draw people into the product if they're not already known.
Right.
And I mean, I love. I was gonna go this year, but then with COVID, I got COVID and I couldn't go. But when I went, to me, I love the aspect of I've built relationships over the last 4 years with everybody that it was cool to actually see them in person. It was seeing family, right? Because we've talked so much on the phone. We've done projects together, right? And it's oh my God, you're a real person, not just somebody I talked to on the phone or via Zoom. And that's what I enjoyed is just that aspect of it. But so then what did you guys do? Just go to booths, talk to people, see stuff? And then,
a lot of it we do ahead of time, right? So we didn't want to go down there and
you have the camera light on, and be like, "Hi, talk to me about your product."
Right. Well, no, I mean we'd interview them while we were down there, right? So that was our way to interview everybody in the same spot, right? And then we could show them at the show, give them some notoriety that way. But also we're they're there to sell their product. We didn't want to be trying to sell them
away.
At the same time.
When I was there, it was really cool because when I was there, I was talking to my friends who own Desert Fox caddies that hold your phone, and I was in their booth, and then Matt from Mr. Short Game came over, walked by, and I was and then I didn't realize he didn't pay attention, and then my buddy's like, "That's Matt," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is," and and he's just carrying. It was crazy because this is before I started doing YouTube, and I was I started talking to him hey, what we became friends. So my friend, we became acquaintances. I was like, "Hey, what camera are you using? What is that?" He's like, "Oh, this is my go-to." And it wasn't it was an older. I still have it. It's an older camcorder style. He's like, "This is the best camera. It shoots in 4K, and it's small, and it's light, and it does the job, and it has a good battery. You don't need an A7 III or And it was he was building content, and it was really cool to watch that because that's essentially what you were doing, but on a different scale, right? Where I don't think a lot of YouTubers take that. Some are starting to again, but I don't think known YouTubers are there to make content. They're there to be seen, right? Or to like participate, but not like create. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and that's
what I think was really cool. Like Matt was creating content, right? Like there's a couple other like smaller YouTubers that were creating. I've seen them on YouTube this summer or this winter during the show, like making content. I'm like, that's what you need to go do. Just go make the content. Like, you know,
look, there's a guy who gets it. Like Mr. Short Game, like he's dialed in. Like I like his stuff. He does a good job.
Super cool.
He's also entertaining though, but he's informative, you know, and that's awesome. So for what we do, like we're instructional based, but like if you did like the club type stuff, what better place to do all your content in one spot? I mean, you're going to have everybody down there. Granted, some years, like I think one of the last years we were there, TaylorMade wasn't there. Like some of those big ones might not be there because, I mean, they got to be spending $250,000 for their booths. Their booths are massive.
Oh man, those are massive.
That's just for the real estate, not alone.
It's like a hotel. It's so big.
To staff and the people that have to set up 2 days before and two days after to tear down. But I mean, you can any cool thing that's up and coming. You go to the innovators section. That was one of my favorite ones. Was the low key little innovators section where there was like, I don't know, 30 featured products where like you'd see something that's like, okay, I can see that. We're gonna see that here in a couple of years still, like that. Or these guys will probably they could be something, but it's just a matter. Like those are the real fun ones to see, because then a few years later when they're established, you're like, I remember when they were first at the show and you didn't hear anything about them, but you could tell like that, like they knew it. They
saw something. They had something. Like like you're like, oh, they're gonna be big, you know. Like so, you're creating this content for real television, right? Like real TV, not YouTube. And then were you taking the same videos and then starting to upload them to like YouTube or at the same time, or when did you start moving into YouTube? Because you guys got a pretty big YouTube channel.
I mean, we were uploading stuff on YouTube, but not with like any sort of
no intent,
or like it was like, well, we have the content, we might as well just put it up there. But like, we weren't doing any sort of tagging or descriptions or anything like that. It was just USGolfTV interviews, the putter wizard or something like that at the PGA show. Like, who's searching for that, right? So like, it was just like, oh, here's this YouTube thing that, you know, people are doing.
It's a platform. We should upload it on there so we might get more views.
Right. So like we would do stuff like that. I think we started a channel unofficially like in 2013 or something like that. So I mean, we'd already been doing the PGA show stuff for a few years before we even put anything on YouTube. So yeah, it was just kind of like we'd have some tips like that. We'd have like our on the lesson tee segment where it was just like a quick 1.5-minute tip on like, hey, there's a quick ball position tip for you, things like that. That was basically what we'd throw on YouTube because it was already sections in our TV show. But like majority of our focus was still on the TV.
Which was really easy for you to edit, right? Because you just like chop that part out, upload it. I mean, right.
Yep, exactly. It was self-contained. Obviously, its first purpose was not for YouTube, so like it was, you know, a little shorter probably than like now what you'd want, which is probably, you know, 8 or 10 minutes. Or, I mean, if you can keep somebody around for 20 minutes, obviously that's great too. But like the 2-minute videos really aren't going to take off much. So. And they were.
So when did you start making a conscious effort at it, though, not just posting old stuff?
It'd be probably late 2017, early 2018. I think was
when I first met you around that same time.
Yeah, that was about. Yeah, it was probably a little before then. That's when we started to like, okay, this YouTube thing does have some merit, you know, and let's see what we can do with it. And that's about when we started to like, you know, do some more research into it and do some like, hey, people actually want to learn how to golf online, you know, and hey, that's free eyeballs. Then you don't have to fly down to Orlando to get that audience, you know. So
what is your most of the content you have? Like, what is your most popular content? Just Todd's instructions?
Oh yeah, by a landslide. Like we're almost entirely like if you go to our YouTube channel, like it's almost entirely instruction based. Like that's.
Are you guys testing? Are you guys testing with video? Like, do you put something up and say, oh, or you kind of know at this point, like, okay, this is a video that people like.
I mean, you always test.
Instruction.
I mean, you'd be silly not to test in some form or fashion. More of it is the structure, I guess. But like, we know our nuts and bolts. Like we're instruction based. Like that's our wheelhouse. Like we're not really interested in other segments, I guess, and like we wouldn't do it justice anyway. So like
that's the thing too. I feel like with YouTube, because it's owned by Google, is that like they want to keep you in your wheelhouse, right? So like if you're an instructional channel, like that is what's going to do good, right? And if you start doing product reviews, they'd be like, what the hell is this? Like it wouldn't do as well, especially with your subscriber base. You're not going to want to watch it. Like it's almost like you have to, I don't know, stay in your lane. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. I mean,
think so.
Your audience will let you know what you want. If you do a video and nobody watches it, that wasn't something you need to do more of.
Yeah, or YouTube YouTube tells you stuff. Like, I've learned a lot with the analytics. Like, it tells you, like, if not like, oh, did somebody watch it? Like, that's part of it. But there's like so many other little facets. Like, how long were they on the video for? When did they drop off?
Well, how did they find it?
How do they even find it? YouTube will tell you. They'll say, "Oh, it found you from search. It found you from a website. It found you from Google. It found you from." They'll tell you, like it breaks it all down. You're like, "Oh, the key is just getting those early numbers, really, as high as you can. Like the impression, then your impressions will go up. But just so you guys know, so Todd Kolb is an instructor. He's been an instructor for how long? Like forever, right?
Yeah, over 25 years now.
Yeah, he's really well respected. Like, so Todd's like the star of the show, right? So Todd is the one who's giving instruction on pretty much how to do anything, like when it comes to golf. You guys are filming in South Dakota mainly, right? Does he have a performance center, or is it like a golf course you guys film at, or what's your normal thing?
So yeah, he's still partnered with his the academy, the Sanford Power Golf Academy. That's here in Sioux Falls. They partnered up a few years ago. Before then, it was his own academy, but he's still involved with them as well. But and then he helps our stuff as well. So yeah, he's the in fact, if anybody comes on to watch this podcast and they see US Golf TV, they'll probably be like, well, where's Todd? Who's this guy? Yeah, because Todd. So they're gonna know. They're gonna definitely know if they've heard of us. They're gonna know Todd before they know Nick. So.
Well, what I think is cool is that you guys are very diversified, right? So like you have your YouTube channel. Are you still on live TV, or is that a part of your?
No, in fact, last year was our last year. We had scaled back a few years ago. We started scaling back. And then last year, I think was our.
I feel like live TV is dying. I really just do.
It's not so much dying. It's like we've repurposed ourselves so much that like it doesn't make as much sense anymore.
It's so much time and energy for you guys to do it, and the returns are not there like it used to.
Well, and there's a lot more overhead because then you're paying for airtime, and
that's true.
Then you have to get sponsors for the show and like it's a lot more outside factors where we've become a lot more
self-sufficient,
that's
which is like that's the key. I feel like with anything is like to get to that point where you're not relying on outside influences. You just do your thing and people appreciate what you're creating, right? So you have the YouTube channel, you have this website. Now the website primarily has tons of instruction, like tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of instruction, like written content and video, right? With whatever it is. And then you guys started moving into hard goods, right? Like in the last, like used with training aids and stuff like that, right? This is like
so we do want to launch a few training aids eventually too. Our big wheelhouse, like you said, is the instruction. So we have a lot of digital products. One that's really resonated lately is our vertical line swing. That's going to be for your more experienced golfers, golfers that are they might have a bit of a bad back. The traditional instruction of a lot of rotation, a lot of restricting hip turn and stuff like that is beneficial and great if you have a lot of flexibility in rotation, so you can restrict your hip turn. You can rely a lot more on your body versus what if you have a bad knee? What if you have a replaced hip? What if you slipped a disc in your back? What if you've had a torn labrum? I think your labrum's in your shoulder. Hurt your shoulder. We'll say that to cover our bases.
I think it's your scrotum.
We have those things like that. I mean, that's we've like it's almost a forgotten part of the golf industry is the person who has it. I mean, I'm not old.
I literally had the same conversation with somebody 2 days ago.
Yeah,
about his best content, right? And he literally said the same thing. literally.
Yeah.
Like different, not what you guys are having here,
Right.
but pretty much the same conversation. Which I never thought about it because I don't do instruction, and I'm like, yeah, it's like it's so stupid, right? Because it's completely underserved. When you would think that like probably a majority of golfers are having those issues, right?
Right.
So it's like
And I'm
tailor
not
the
that old
content.
myself, but like I'm not at my peak physical ability either. So like,
Whatever.
You think I haven't learned anything from that instruction? I mean, I'll do some of the stuff to give myself more rotation. And wow, this for somebody who never plays, I can see the results even. So I mean, I get it because like Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy sell the magazine, and they're the guys that are seeing on Sunday. So like that it makes business sense to emulate those swings, but not everybody can actually do it. So
what's the vertical line swing? What is that? That's like a new method that
it's a body friendly golf swing for your more experienced average golfer. The guy who has the limited flexibility, the guy who can't create X factor, or if I'm using the terms correctly, I'm getting a little out of my realm of experience.
Yeah, you don't have the same abilities as you once did due to age or by whatever reason, health.
Right.
But it's kind of good too because if you're a new golfer, you know anything. So like, if this is a body friendly way of doing it, then
if you're a new golfer,
you haven't been mistrained yet. So it's almost like try this. This could be the way you might want to swing your club.
Right. You're not creating like weird wrist angle. Like you're not getting that Dustin Johnson wrist angle. Like if I could do that, I would, believe me. But I'm pretty sure I would probably be wearing a wrist brace the next day if I was getting all that flexion going. So it looks awesome on TV. I'll give them that, but I don't know if I can do that. But
what are you guys working on this year? Like what's coming down the pipe?
So we just actually started a follow up to the vertical line swing, our vertical line short game system, which is more geared for So it's some of the similar concepts, obviously, to the vertical line swing, built into more of the short game stuff. So it's all simplifying the game for people, right? So I mean, this you don't have to be an older golfer to learn a lot from this stuff, especially. So it's chipping, it's puttering, and it's bunkers. Probably the scariest shot for the average golfer is a greenside bunker because you don't know what you're going to do with it, right? So we got that, and then we're working on a series to help golfers fix their slice as well, which hopefully we'll be launching here soon in the spring. So
when you guys do series, like what do you do? Do you like do like a teaser or like something for YouTube, or do you do like some partial instruction on YouTube and you say, hey, if you want the full course, check out the site?
Yeah, so we're not gonna try and create something that like we're not already teaching, right? So we're not gonna go and teach people how to do something that we wouldn't also teach on our YouTube platform. So a lot of the instruction is stuff you're gonna probably get concepts and tidbits from, like.
Yeah, but not a real course, not like this is how you do it.
And that's kind of the value that we found in creating a course is like, when you give somebody a tip on YouTube, it's great and you can learn a lot from it, but like there's not as much structure. Like if you take the course,
practice you're what to do step by step,
right?
Right. Yeah.
Whereas with the course, like you're creating a template. Like two golfers can learn the same swing, but like because one of them has, let's say, some knee issues, or one of them can't get as much extension in their arms, like that learning that core template is great, but like when you do it on YouTube, like if you're that's kind of like the gift and the curse of having a lot of following is like you can't resonate with 160,000 people at the same exact time. So like giving them a course that gives them a template can help them like learn the process, and then from that you can custom tailor, like I understand all these concepts now.
Well, it's hard to fully learn. I feel like
right.
It's like my iceberg analogy, right? Like it's a tip of the iceberg. Like that's YouTube, whatever that tip is, right? And then everything below is like, if you really want to do this, like it's like learning any kind of skill. Like you have to have a process. It's not just I watched this video, because you have a million questions after that. Or am I doing that right? Like you have no idea,
Right.
So then when is that coming out? The short
So
game
we
videos?
just launched the short game I guess now last month because it was February, so just a few weeks ago, and then the slice stuff hopefully will be coming out early spring as well. So got a lot of that's the nice thing about what we found with YouTube is that people do want more information. And like, obviously you wouldn't do it if you didn't think people would want it. So we're finding that people resonate really well with the concept of a more body friendly swing, and it just makes sense to help them with a more full blown course.
What's cool about you guys, like that you guys are like true instruction video. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, I mean, Todd's a pro. Todd has a school. Todd's been teaching forever. You came from a place where your traditional methods of giving on video, on TV, and then like today as YouTube grows, like everyone thinks they're an instructor now, right? And it's like, not saying they're not instructors in real life.
No,
it's just
I know what you mean.
You guys are poised because how many to really grow your channel because you already have the foundation's been laid, right?
Yeah.
Essentially,
right.
So
right.
I mean, I can see for you guys like to continue growing your channel like you have been, and then just come out with like you said, like digital content that like is extra, right? Like more information, more of a course driven.
Right. And there's so many. We get so many people asking for more information, obviously, but also they want more instruction catered to them, right? And it'd be in a perfect world, we'd find a way to get 100,000 people in a room and teach them all. But the truth of the matter isn't that just doesn't work. So being able to offer more ways or more touch points to get the instruction that they're looking for, obviously it makes sense, but also it just bodes well for the consumer as well to find more of what they're looking for that way. So.
No, I mean, it's really cool. I mean, you guys, like I said, I've known you since the beginning, like for reals. Like I probably talked to you in I think my first article was written in January, and I talked to you in March of that year. So, I mean, it's not that long. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. You guys need to check out US Golf TV. Like I said, they're everywhere. I mean, you can go to US Golf TV. Was it .TV, right?
USGolfTV.com. Yep, just .com. We're the original.
I can't remember.
Yep.
Okay, you're OG. And then also check out their YouTube channel because they have tons of content. For instruction. And I don't know, it's just cool to finally get you on the show because we've known each other for so long. Yeah,
no, this is fun. I appreciate it. I appreciate and like you said, I mean, it's kind of cool because I think a lot of people, well, not necessarily golf, but just in general, like we're in a similar industry. So some people might look at us as competition, but like we're here to just, I mean, this is cool. I mean, you'll get to learn more about companies you've heard of maybe. And I think that people like to hear the backstories behind stuff. So it's cool to be able to share our story, and it's cool that you're allowing people the ability to do that.
No, I'm glad you're on the show today. So you guys definitely need to check out USGolfTV.com. Check out their YouTube channel, and hopefully we'll have them back on the show in the future and talk more golf.
You bet. Hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, hit his subscribe button. And mine if you like to.
Yeah, well, while we're on the channel.
I'll see you guys later.
See ya. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Behind the Golf Brand Podcast.
You're gonna beat me at golf?
Stay connected on and off the show by visiting golfersauthority.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
Golf is always more fun when you win.
Stay out of the beach and see you on the green.